All right, perfect. So also, as we go through this presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A section. So if you're looking at your screen, there's a box at the the bottom right corner. It's a triangle box circle icon. If you go ahead and click that, there's a Q&A option. Go ahead and drop your questions in there. And then what we'll do is we'll go through those questions at the end. So we'll be able to refer back to anything at the end of the webinar. So now to the main reason why we're here. The one thing that we wanted everyone to get together for is we wanted to introduce one of our new platforms that we've actually launched out into the field. It's called Taxscribe Pro. So for some, there are probably people in here that are probably familiar with the platform if you've used us before here in North Carolina. And for all those that's new, this is an opportunity for us to kind of showcase some of the new options and some new features that we've added onto the platform. One of the things that we'll be addressing are some of the challenges that we are seeing out into the marketplace and how Taxscribe Pro is able to kind of address all those challenges. So hopefully some of these things that we're addressing are pain points that you want to solve for your own organization. Now, we created the platform specifically for the people that are on here. So this platform itself is made for tax professionals. So hopefully this is something that you can take back and maybe use in your own day-to-day operations back into your own offices. So what to expect today? I'll walk you through exactly how Taxscribe Pro works and all the features and benefits. And from there, we'll cover some of the challenges that we're going to be addressing and also some of the features that we've added on since probably the last time that we've done a demo, if you've done a demo with me before. So first, what we'll do is we'll go over Reason Consulting, kind of give you a quick introduction to the team behind Taxscribe Pro. After that, we're going to go ahead and discuss the challenges or the problem that we've seen out in the marketplace on why we built Taxscribe Pro, also how Taxscribe Pro addresses those challenges. Then we'll do a quick demo so you can see at how the platform works in real time. And then we'll show you a breakdown of the key improvements that we've made. And at the end, we're going to open the floor up for any questions that you might have. But along the way, I'll be asking some poll questions. So, it'd be great help to us if you can answer those to kind of give us a better understanding of what's going on in the marketplace. So, and this will also help us make sure that we're covering what's most relevant to you. All right. So to get started, let's go ahead and talk about the company behind Taxscribe Pro. Who we are. So Reason Consulting. So back in 2022, Reason Consulting started here in Charlotte, North Carolina. A little bit of an elevator pitch. So Reason Consulting really specializes in what we consider data-driven custom software solutions. We have a very long track record working with government agencies, so that we are in multiple states and multiple jurisdictions, and we've been able to create software, especially in the auditing space, for a lot of these jurisdictions. And currently, we're expanding this offering into the commercial sector, and that's where Taxscribe Pro comes in. So we've kind of taken some of the learnings that we've done in the past in the government side and bundling it up and making it more consumable for professionals such as yourselves that's on this webinar now. And why we built Taxscribe Pro. So one of the things that we started seeing out in the marketplace, or why we started recognizing the need for the platform, is that we've seen that there are a lot of clients or a lot of businesses that are operating in multiple states or in a state in multiple jurisdictions. And what we started seeing is there's a lot of efficiencies when dealing with these personal property tax filings, because some states are e-files, some states are mail-in, there are different forms that you have to fill out. So overall, we started seeing that this process has become very time consuming. And on top of that too, we've seen that there's options for us to be able to save you money on top of that. But our growth so far in terms of how Taxscribe's doing, so currently we have thousands of users on the platform itself. I think we have over 10,000 users. But with Taxscribe Pro, we currently have 400 users across 200 organizations using the Pro version of Taxscribe. And currently, we are supporting 15 states. And then by June, we're going to be reaching all 36 states that require personal property filings. So really, our goal is we're trying to provide a very practical, cost-effective solution that you and your teams can use during your filing process, especially with personal property. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the challenges that you're facing right now when managing these tax filings. So the problem that we're actually set out to solve is the multiple forms in multiple jurisdictions. Now, the biggest thing that we've noticed is that when filing these things, each state and sometimes its own jurisdiction has its own processes, forms, and they all have their own different submission requirements. Some states allow e-filing, and like I said some before, some others require paper submissions. So currently right now, there are 36 states that require filings. Each of these states have their own different versions of the form, so it kind of makes it very difficult to organize these forms and file them efficiently. It has to be done manually, and a lot of times people have to do them individually for each business, for each jurisdiction. So many teams probably rely on spreadsheets. A lot of teams probably have to rely on logging into multiple websites. So you have organizations that have multiple people in one organization having to create multiple logins, or they have to mail the paper forms themselves. So this adds cost to your process. And on top of that, probably adds time because you got to print it out, shove it in an envelope, and send it off. So the reason why we built it, and the reason why we built Taxscribe Pro, is that we're able to actually consolidate all these processes into one platform. So the biggest thing that this does is it saves you and your team's time and money because it automates the entire process. But before we dive in on how we address these challenges, I'm gonna do a quick pulse check from everyone on here with a quick poll question. I'm gonna go ahead and put this into the chat. So if you guys don't mind, if you could answer it for me. It's just a quick yes or no question. Do you currently use software to file personal property tax filings? Just yes or no. Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for filling that out. So it's always very helpful to see the kind of experiences that we're seeing in the room. It seems that majority of the people here are not using any kind of software. So I'm assuming this thing is very manual process for the people on the call now. So this is great because then this is something that you'll probably be able to use in your normal everyday filing, especially with automating it. And since you don't have software, this thing's definitely an option for you to use. So what exactly is Taxscribe Pro? So just kind of in a nutshell, it's a web-based filing and data management platform. And what that means is it centralizes your personal tax filings into one place. So there's no need to manage separate processes for each jurisdiction. You can do it all in one area. And the other thing too, and the one thing that I mentioned previously, is that a lot of these jurisdictions have a lot of different forms. And what Taxscribe Pro does is that it actually simplifies that form into one standardized interface. So everything looks the same for each jurisdiction, but it'll fill out the form for that state specifically. But the biggest thing is that it simplifies it and it standardizes it. And on top of that, I'm going to keep pounding this thing in, is that it allows you to file the listings on the platform itself. So if you have the option to e-file it, the platform can do that for you rather quickly. And if the jurisdiction itself does not allow e-file, or they don't have an option for e-file, Taxscribe Pro can actually create the form and mail it for you, and it'll provide you tracking. So the other thing too, so it doesn't seem like with the group here, if you do have software such as QuickBooks or Thomson Reuters to run your books now, the actual reporting side of those platforms, you could actually drag and drop itself onto the onto Taxscribe Pro, and it'll actually fill out the form for you. So if you're using that on the front end to keep track of the bookkeeping or whatever you have going on with your client, the report or the CSV that comes from that platform, you can actually drag and drop it into Taxscribe Pro and it fills it out. So I appreciate everyone's feedback on that. But before we continue, based on the answers that we have here, there are some people that say that they do have automation, or they do have software that they're filing. What I'd like to do is, if you can, let us know what software you're currently using now. So if you answered yes, if you guys don't mind just letting us know like what software you're using, whether it's Walser Kluwer or Avalara. But if it's not listed on here, you can go ahead and type in the information in the chat, because we just kind of love to see what tools are out there and how Taxscribe Pro compares to that. So feel free to drop your answers in the poll. Okay. And that poll is live, so if you think about it, just go ahead and answer that whenever you can. All right. So let's dig a little deeper in how all those challenges that we've talked about before, how Taxscribe Pro addresses all of that. So one of the biggest things that we're addressing is the multiple state and the multiple jurisdiction filings. So without a centralized system, a lot of teams spend a lot of time switching from different filing portals. So you might have a login in one county, and then another county you have to mail it in, or in one state you have one person working there with their own login and their own processes, and then another team member doing something else. So what that creates is there's a lot of separation when it comes to working as an organization. So if you're a client that has multiple filings for your customer in multiple states, and you have to create multiple logins, that definitely adds another layer of complexity during the tax filing season. So that's something else that you have to keep up. Taxscribe Pro allows you to do that in one area. It brings everything into one platform. So whether you're e-filing or submitting paper forms, there's no more need from jumping from system to system. So there's no more manual tracking to see what's been filed or where it's been filed. I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you just a little bit, just a little snippet of what this thing looks like. And at the end, I'll kind of put it all together so you can kind of see it. But so currently, right now, as I mentioned before, we have 15 states, and we're going to be expanding into 36 by June. And what's really neat is that in each one of those states, all those jurisdictions that's within those states, you're able to file on Taxscribe Pro. That extends to New Orleans and all their parishes. There's also certain states like Michigan, where not only do they have counties, but they have townships. All of those are listed. So I'll show you a quick look on how that would, how you would be doing that on the platform itself. So when you start a new form on the platform, you can see here that it's just a simple drop-down menu. You could go ahead and click whatever state you'd like. So it's very simple. You could find them all here on one platform. And on top of that, whatever tax type that you're trying to file for, whether it's business personal property, individual personal property, we're addressing all those forms on the platform itself. The reason why I picked Georgia and why it's really neat is that in Georgia, there are multiple listings that you have to file. So from BPP all the way to the Freeport exemption to aircraft or watercraft submissions, we have all those forms in one area. So overall, everything is consolidated into one platform. And as you notice, I'm doing this all online. So there's no need to download any piece of software. All of it is web-based. So you can access this, or you and your team can access this from multiple locations. There's no need to be in one area. You can go ahead and log in with your credentials and start filing or start tracking all your listings in one spot. Now, the one thing too, when it comes to new pieces of software that people are using, I know sometimes a lot of this can slow things down when you're trying to implement something very new. Taxscribe not having the need to put in anything invasive, such as putting in new software into your system, being it web-based, it's very easy for the onboarding process. And it's very easy to integrate with your current workflow with how you're doing. The interface itself is very intuitive. It walks you through filling out the form itself. It's easily, you can navigate it wherever you need to go. And it's very intuitive in terms of like what you need to fill out. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys what you're doing. Most of you are tax professionals that are on here, so you're very familiar with what you need to put into the listing. But the big thing too is that you have a lot of team members that are probably moving on from one role, or team members leaving. And some of the processes that's probably getting left behind is, let's say, for example, you have an admin that is the main login for an e-file jurisdiction. And let's say that they own the password and they own the username. And if that person leaves, right, there's a process of having to gain access back into your account, and you're probably having to reset passwords, having to change users. So that takes a lot of time. And so having an ability to onboard somebody and then put them into the organization, anyone and everyone can use the platform, and no one has to create their own individual account. So the one thing too is that the multiple forms and the multiple jurisdictions when it comes to Taxscribe Pro is that, like, as you can see, you have a form in Georgia, you have a form in North Carolina, you have a form in California. What we've done is that on the front end, on the user interface, we've standardized how you input that data, and it walks you through filling it out. Here, I'll do a quick look at how actually it works on the platform itself. So in the previous demo, I show you how to get into the different states here. I'm going to go ahead and show you one that I've started. Now, as you can see, I'm demoing this as I'm an accountant, and I'm an accountant that has multiple locations. So if you're looking at my dashboard, you're probably seeing Virginia, Mississippi, Washington. I am able to file all those listings onto the platform itself. But for the sake of this quick little demo here, I'm going to show you how your team is able to actually fill the forms out and how easy it is, especially when somebody new is trying to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and say pick one. We're here in Charlotte, so I'm going to go ahead and pick Mecklenburg, North Carolina. And okay, so we'll pick the first one here, Carolina Tech Solutions. So this is a demo account that I filled out. So this is the user interface when you log in and start a form. Now, as you can see, this does not look like the PDF version or the paper version of the form itself. But you're able to see that in the back end. But the big thing is that if you're looking at this, right, anyone on your team is able to fill this thing out. You can look at it. It's showing you what you need to fill in. And also, you know, for anyone that's been filling things out online, you probably have noticed this little asterisk mark right here. That's one of our ways to make sure that you're filling out the form properly. So let's say, for example, you know, you get rid of the name here and you click continue, you're going to see that it's required. So it keeps things very standardized so nothing gets left behind. Now, as you're filling this thing out, and of course, I've already pre-populated because I don't want you to sit here and wait for me while I type this stuff up. It guides you through filling out each section of the form itself. So after knocking this thing out, hit next, keep going. And you'll walk through this process until the end of the listing. Now, to check your work or to see how it's actually making sure that everything is correct, there's actually a little button up here when you're doing the form. It's a little PDF button. And if you click that button, what it'll do is it'll generate the actual form itself, the actual state form. And you can see that as you're filling it out on Taxscribe Pro, it's also filling out the actual paper form itself. Now, why this is significant. So for example, if you have a customer that that you're filling this thing out for and you need to mail it off, you could actually go ahead and print this off that's already been filled out and mail it yourself. The other option is you could actually let the platform itself mail it for you. But you could always do a sanity check by going back and forth as you're filling out the actual as you're filling out the listing on Taxscribe Pro. You can click the PDF button. You can see it real time on the actual PDF itself. So so I just kind of wanted to show you guys that so you could see that the platform itself, it's very easy to learn and understand. So there's not a big learning curve. So anyone that's new, that's coming into your organization, especially if you have new folks that are just there to fill things out, they're able to look at it and be able to be guided through the whole process. Perfect. All right. So now, once users are comfortable with the platform, the next step is probably seeing how all this data is organized. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how all of this is in one area. So so we can kind of see how Taxscribe Pro kind of organizes all your listings into one spot. The big challenge when it comes to listings or filings is that some folks have 10 listings, some clients have hundreds. You might have a client that has thousands of locations, you know, where they're in almost every state and every jurisdiction, and you need to file personal property tax forms for them. And what we've seen out in the field is what happens is you have teams that are probably having to file in those jurisdictions, and those forms are all over the place. Some person keeps it in their own laptop, another person keeps it in a spreadsheet, so it's not very standardized. And Taxscribe Pro actually allows you to see all of that in one spot. So it keeps all your data in one place. So it's very easy to import the data or retrieve what you've been seeing. It also provides an audit trail, so you can actually see a full history of updates on what's been happening with that listing. And the other thing too is that there's probably going to be no need to keep this up in a spreadsheet. A lot of folks have to use, they use an Excel file to list out all the listings, and we've all been there where we deleted a cell and we don't know what information was in there. So Taxscribe Pro allows you to actually kind of keep it all in one area. And let me show you exactly how that works. So back on the platform here, when you first log in, as you see it here, you'll notice that all my listings are on this platform. Now, as you take a look at it, you're going to start seeing all the different columns and tracking for all the different listings. So you have right now we've broken it up by different states, so you can see that all the different states that are that I've done demos for. We're all the way out in Texas, Colorado, Arkansas, but it's all in one spot. So anyone that is working with me and my team, they could log in using their own login, and they could see all of these. And from here, they could check the status. So, if you guys needed to print it and send it off, it'll tell you that it's been printed. It'll show all the listings that's in progress as well. So you could go in here and see what's been going on with the platform itself. As you can see, this one that I just randomly logged into, there's not a lot of information put in. So you know that that's still wide open, that you need to fix that. So all of it is one area. Now, the one thing too that that we'd like to address is that if you're a firm and you have a client that has multiple locations, I'll go back again to the original listing that I have here to make it easier. So let's say, for example, Carolina Tech Solutions, or the account that I'm using here. Let's say that this organization is in 200 jurisdictions spread out across 20 different states. The one thing that is probably going to be time consuming on the front end is filling out every listing with the same information over and over again, right? This organization, they have the same address, they have the same SIC number, they have the same NICS code. All the information is the same. So on the front end, you're probably thinking, man, I'm going to have to fill that out for 200 locations. What we also provide for Reason Consulting is that we provide a bespoke service where we can actually take all that information that you have and we can pre-populate all these forms for you, right? So when you come in, all the information regarding the business will already be listed. So you don't have to fill that out. All you have to do is once all of it is uploaded, all you have to do is come in here and just add in your additions or deletions of that year. Now, if you're also looking at this, there's also historical numbers. So we're able to upload those historical numbers for you as well. And what makes that very neat is that as you're doing this year after year after year, you're having to keep up all those forms from previous years. You can keep all those forms in Taxscribe Pro and it keeps in all the information within that listing. So it's very easy if one person moves on and another person picks up the client, they can just come in here, open up that listing, and they can see what they've done previously and just keep moving forward with it. So you don't have to go back and backtrack and find previous forms and having to refill this information out. So, right, perfect. Right. Now, the next thing is that after you're able to fill out those forms, you can see where all your tracking. Probably the last part is the filing part. So on Taxscribe Pro, you have the ability to e-file or paper file. Now, I know some states allow full e-filing, so submissions are quick and direct. Now, others still require physical forms, so you're still having to print, mail, and track submissions. You can do both on the platform itself. So Taxscribe Pro, you can do e-filing for jurisdictions that allow it. And then for paper filings, we are able to generate that ready to mail form and we can handle the printing and mailing for the users. Now, as we move on this year, later on this year, we're going to be able to offer or provide a service for certified or first class mail options. So you can choose how you want your documents sent and tracked. So really, by being able to handle both the digital and paper submissions, Taxscribe Pro actually allows filings to be very organized, no matter what each jurisdiction requires. Perfect. Okay. So now that you've seen how Taxscribe Pro handles the e-filing and mailing, I'm going to go ahead and put it all together so you guys can see how this works. And then I'll walk you through how the filings are managed from start to finish. And you can kind of see how easy it is to navigate and submit and track the status of it in one place. So from here, right, we're going to go ahead and get started again. Like I said before, from the platform itself, you can start a new form, select the state, select whatever type. And then, for here, we chose Alabama being at the top of the list. Every jurisdiction in Alabama is on here. So from here, choose Bibb County. Oh, see, this is a great example right here. As you can see that since we're already in 2025, I can't actually start a form until August of this year. But there are some states that allow me to do that. So let's go ahead and choose a state that would do that. So let's go North Carolina, personal property. Here, we'll go Mecklenburg, being in Charlotte again. As you could see, Mecklenburg County has the ability to e-file, so you could do it from there. And then you could choose a listing form. So personal property listing. Oh, Pamela has races. Okay, perfect. Yep. We'll go ahead. Pamela, did you have a question? If you want to go ahead and type it into the chat box, we can answer it for you real time. So if you go ahead and send that, we can go ahead and answer that for you, whatever question you have. So getting back to this here. So as I've mentioned before, from the platform itself, we can go ahead and start a new form. And from there, we're back to the business information. So from here, you can fill out all the information based on what your client's information is. And like I said before, if this requires us to do upload from multiple jurisdictions, we can do all of that. All right. Now, as you're going through this process and as you're filling all this out, as you're filling out all the scheduled forms, at the very end, from here, you're able to submit the listing itself. Now, Mecklenburg County, the one that I chose, is e-file compatible, so you could submit it from here. Now, the other part too is that if it is not e-file compatible, you could still submit it, and then what'll happen is that we will actually take that form, and our vendor will print it, box it up, mail it for you, and we will provide you barcode tracing for that listing itself. So once you go through all of that, all your listings is going to be listed in your dashboard, so you can easily find them. Now, the one thing too is that during the tax filing season, you're probably going to do hundreds of them. We also have the ability to pick and choose. So we have filters, so you can go ahead and find whatever listing you're looking for. So for example, if you want to find something in North Carolina, all my listings in North Carolina are on here. And you can see whether they've been delivered or they're still in progress. Okay. So one thing too, when it comes to the capabilities of this platform, a lot of times, like I mentioned before, is that organizations have to use multiple pieces of software, or they're having to create multiple logins. Taxscribe Pro allows you to put everyone in your organization into one platform. So people are able to work and collaborate with each other for each listing. And let me show you how that works here. Once you're in Taxscribe Pro and you're the admin, you're actually able to assign roles and manage people's access on the platform. So if you have an organization that has multiple people that are different types of users, so you could have people that are preparers, you could have people that are signers. The platform itself allows you to manage all of that. Now, the reason why that's significant is that, let's say that you're an organization that has multiple users across the country. What'll end up happening is if you have a coworker, an employee that lives in a different state than you, but you still have to file in, say, North Carolina. What ends up happening is one person either ends up mailing it, or both of you end up creating two usernames and two passwords, and you're filing for your clients individually into North Carolina. Another thing that is great about this is that the moment that you're on Taxscribe Pro, you could consolidate all of that. So now you could bring in all your coworkers, all your colleagues into one area, and you're able to assign users, and you can essentially assign them work and tell them what they need to do for each listing. So let me show you how that works on the platform itself. So once you log in, there's a button on the left-hand side here for users. So from here, you can see my organizations. You could, so right now there's me, Daniel, Joe, Teddy. From here, you could either delete a user. So if that person is gone and they're no longer with the company, you could go ahead and remove them. Or if you hire a new batch of graduates of accountants and you need them to start creating these listings, you could come in here, add a new user, put in their information, their email address, because that's required, because that's going to be their login, and you could assign their roles. And a lot of times you're probably going to want to make sure that the people that are preparing it are also able to sign it. Or if you need that to be more of a workflow option where people are preparers and there's a different group of people that are signers, you could do that as well here on the platform. Okay. So now with all that being said, I know there's a lot of questions that are probably popping up. At the end of the day, just kind of want to summarize all this up. Taxscribe Pro is really here and it's really designed to save time and money. I know that there's a lot of burden when it comes to filling out these forms at the beginning of the year. It becomes very hectic. I know that when we talk to clients, it takes up a majority of their time just because they're having to do multiple things. Not only are they having to file in this jurisdiction, they're having to file in a different jurisdiction, or they're having to e-file here and mail there. Taxscribe Pro is streamlining that process. So it's definitely helping out with cutting out all the unnecessary work and costs. So instead of having to focus on this, you're able to focus on other things. But that's the big thing about it, is that it's saving you time and money. So before we wrap up, we'd love to get your feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into our final poll question, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So feel free to drop any questions in the chat and I'll answer them. All right. I want to appreciate everybody's time. If you are interested in more of an in-depth look on how we could do this for your organization and you'd love to see more, please let us know. And we'll be happy to walk you through here. I have some of my team members on the call now. So if there are any technical questions, we have some of our recent consulting employees that'll be able to kind of help us with anything that you guys might need. So we're going to go ahead and open it up for Q&A. Okay. One of the questions that we have, it's coming from Andy. His question is, I think you covered it. Actually, let me go ahead. Does Pro allow for multiple users to collaborate and track progress? That is correct. So what's really neat is that I'll answer the first part of the question. Does Pro allow for multiple users? Yes. I think I just went over this here. Pro allows you to add multiple users and assign them multiple roles into one account. So each one of these people that have a username and email, they can log into Taxscribe Pro and you guys are all in one area. It's not separate accounts. You could keep adding as many users as possible. And once you log in, everything will be listed in the dashboard so you can see what the status is for each listing. And the other part too is you could actually see if someone's been assigned that work. So I'm the preparer for this. And from here, once I'm done, I could actually assign it to somebody else on my team. All right. The next question is, some jurisdictions require property to be reported differently. For example, Texas requires different asset classifications than North Carolina. Does the platform help account for these variations? The quick answer to that is yes. So let's do it in real time here. Texas, personal property, and let's just choose a random jurisdiction here. So in Texas, right now, we have business personal property rendition form. And then from here on this platform, you're also able to do your extensions. That's what we offer for Texas. I'll show you another one that's also very unique. So for example, I think we went over this in the previous one, but I'll go ahead and show you. In Georgia, we do BPP and IPP. But on top of that, with BPP, we also have the Freeport, aircraft, and watercraft listings as well. So we have all the forms that are readily available to us. And as these forms expand, our team will keep working to upload them for each state. But if there is a form that we're missing that you think would be a great idea to have, and for whatever state, go ahead and drop that into the chat box and we'll definitely let our team know. And if it's one of the needs that we need to address, we'll be more than happy to put it on the platform. Okay, so a big challenge, the next question is, a big challenge for us is manually entering the same asset data info into multiple jurisdiction forms. Does Taxscribe Pro allow us to standardize asset data entry across different forms? The answer to that is yes. So I think now I'm going to probably have Dan, one of our, Dan's the VP of product marketing for Taxscribe Pro, but the first answer I'll give to that is yes. Does it allow you to put the data information into multiple jurisdictions, into different forms? Yes, it allows you to do that. Now, when it comes to the asset data entry, I'm assuming that we're probably going to have to do an upload for you to put all that information into the platform itself. So it'll go across all the listings and all the jurisdictions that you need instead of having to manually do that. So I think we can provide that service. Dan, am I correct in saying that? Let's see here. I think I have to unmute Dan. Oh, get you an answer to that question very quick. That is, but we are able to, and apologies for the technical difficulties on that end. So, but yes, we're able to actually put all that information in there, and we'll get you some more information if you are, if you do need something very specific. All right, and we'll keep moving forward with the Q&A here. Okay, so we have another one here. Do you pull in prior year data from tax agencies? And what happens in year 2? Do you have to re-enter everything? Okay, so the answer to that is that we're not pulling anything from the agencies. If you need the information uploaded or pre-uploaded from previous years, we can do that for you. That is a service that we can provide. If that's not something you want to do, then there is a manual entry to put in the historical figures. But the one thing too is that the other question is that what happens in year 2? Do you have to re-enter everything? That is, no, you don't have to do that. So what'll happen is that you can actually take for all the forms that are already in here that's already been submitted, we actually have the ability to clone the forms from previous year. Let's see here. Let me pick one that's already been printed. But what happens is, and Rob, what happens is when you are done filing all of this in 2024, actually, let me see if we can use a previous year. So for example, we've already filed everything in 2024. I'm showing you an example now here, Dan's business. If you don't want to refill all that for next year, you actually can clone it to create the 2025 form, and all the information is going to be listed in there. And then all you can do now, all you're left to do is just put in the previous year's numbers. So everything is listed there. You can clone it, and all you're doing is just refilling it for that year's numbers. Okay. So that's all the Q&A that we have. Here is my contact information. What we'll do is, if you're looking to get this recording, or if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me. We'll get everything sent over to you. We definitely appreciate your time. And if there are any more questions after the call, go ahead and feel free to email me or give me a buzz, and I'll be more than happy to go more in depth But that's all we have for today. I definitely appreciate your time. And if you guys have anything else, if you guys don't have anything else, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the meeting. Yes, here is my email. Perfect. I'm going to stay on a little bit longer if you, for those that have questions in the chat box. But for everybody else, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.